Hey, before we get started, let me ask you something. Is your leadership or management team burning out? It's a serious question because burnout at the top, hey, it spreads fast. It shows up in poor decision-making, toxic culture, and disengaged teams. But when leaders are grounded, energized, and supported, everything changes. That's the work I do with executives and their managers. I help them step off the hamster wheel and put well-being back at the center. The result? Leaders who make better choices, teams that are more engaged, and companies where people actually want to give their best. And that's where everyone wins. Your people, your culture, and your bottom line. If you're ready to build a healthier, burnout-resistant, and more effective leadership culture, hey, I'd love to help. Find me on LinkedIn or reach me on my website at marcelschwantes.com. Welcome to the Love in Action podcast. I'm your host, executive coach, speaker, and author, Marcel Schwantes. I believe that when we show up with our full humanity to work and lead from a place of love, joy, purpose, care, and inclusion, it's going to make a radical difference in your leadership, your business, and your bottom line. This is a show about actionable, practical love, the verb, as a leadership and business strategy. Let's get rolling. Hey, welcome to the first episode of the new year. Hope your holidays were outstanding. This is season 10 of the Love in Action podcast. Unbelievable that we have lasted this long, but that's because of your support. I mean, I'm grateful to you. Thank you for being the reason why I keep this going. So I believe that good leadership is more critical than ever before. I mean, think about it. And I'm especially saying this because I'm seeing a rise in corruption as people in power positions move up the ranks. So we have to push back against these, quote, dark forces. We have to reject unfairness, toxicity, manipulation, narcissism, anything that doesn't add value, anything that does not bring dignity, respect, kindness, growth, purpose, authenticity, community, and service to the business world and to our workplace. Anything that doesn't add to that, we have to reject it. And we have to continue to model what true leadership actually looks like. Not just in theory, but in everyday practice. And that's why we do this show. So I want to set expectations for a new direction for 2026. And if you're a longtime listener, I think you'll appreciate this. So we've had over 250 guests come on this show and, to talk about their big ideas, their books, etc. And we will continue to bring global thought leaders, the best of the best, best-selling authors to the show. That's not going to change. But this year, 2026, you're going to hear a lot more of me. I'm going to be dropping way more solo episodes like today's show, where I talk about the things I'm passionate about, what I'm learning, trends I'm seeing, books I'm reading, strategies and practices that I feel will make you a better listener and a better leader. So yes, more of me for sure. So stay tuned for that. So let's get to what's on my mind today. Now, most leaders at the beginning of the year, they walk into the new year thinking that the answer to their problems is, a bigger strategic plan, a bolder goal or BHAG, or a fresh set of KPIs. But let's be honest. None of that matters if the leader running the plan is running on the wrong operating system. Too many leaders still believe that authenticity, for example, is optional, that humility is soft, and feedback is something you give, not something you seek. And that belief quietly erodes trust. It's going to kill engagement, and it's going to make the new year look suspiciously like the last one, if that's the operating system that you've been on. So let me ask you a question as we start this new year. Are you building a leadership brand that people actually want to follow, or one they tolerate because they have no choice? Here's the misconception that sets so many leaders back. True leadership is about projecting certainty. That's the script that I'm seeing still to this day. That real leadership is about controlling outcomes and always being the smartest person in the room. That's the script that's still playing. But that model is dated. It's fragile now. We can see through it. And if you still operate that way, it creates distance between you, the leader, and the very people that depend on you. So here's the truth that flips the script. Okay, let's kill some of these misconceptions with some truth telling. You become a far more effective leader the moment you stop performing leadership and start practicing it. When you own your humanity, welcome the truth about your impact, and make serving others the center of your work, your influence is going to skyrocket. So here's my promise for today's episode. If you reset your definition of leadership now at the beginning of the year, if you reset that definition and anchor it in authenticity, humility, and service, the next 12 months will look radically different. Not because you're going to work harder, but because you're going to be more true to yourself. And people respond to that kind of authenticity. So there are principles that you need to apply. Principle number 1, authentic leadership always starts with self-honesty. Most leaders think that they're self-aware, but man, the research is brutal. Only a small fraction of leaders, especially as they move up the ranks, are actually self-aware. The rest of them are just guessing. So authenticity isn't so much about just being transparent for the show of it, right? Because even transparency these days is becoming more of a show. Oh yeah, I'm transparent. I speak my truth. It's about telling yourself the truth about how you're showing up. It's removing the mask. People can feel when you're aligned and when you're merely performing behind the mask. One builds trust and the other one creates distance. So how do you implement this idea of authentic leadership? Well, you ask these 2 questions every Friday at the end of your week. Where was I most aligned with my values this week? And the second question, where did I drift? And what triggered it? Because you need to find out what those triggers are that will drift you away from your values, the things that align you to your purpose. Principle number 2 is humility is really a performance enhancer. It's not so much a personality trait. It's not like, oh, I wasn't born a humble person, and therefore, put that in the back burner. It's never going to work for me. Humility is a performance enhancer. And, like the old saying, I think it was, I'm not sure if it's, don't quote me on this, maybe it was Rick Warren. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking about yourself less. It frees you from defensiveness, right? Because you got thick skin. You can handle the truth. And that takes a very humble person to admit mistake. Okay, that's a performance enhancer. It's not so much about, oh, I'm not humble. Okay. And what happens with humility is that it sharpens your learning. It makes people feel safe to now come and tell you the truth. Because, hey, the humble leader is not the smartest person in the room most of the time. Because there might be other people, even below their line of sight, that may know more about a certain part of the job or how the business functions than the leader himself or herself. So teams will follow a humble leader into those hard places because they feel seen, heard, and not just used like they're worker bees, taking command from the top. So how do you implement humility? Okay, try this one practice. In your next meeting, speak last. Let other people shape the conversation before you weigh in, okay? You'll learn more in 10 minutes than you'll have in months. Here's principle number 3. You cannot improve as a leader without feedback. Okay, great leaders aren't afraid of holding up the mirror. They invite them. They treat feedback like data, not judgment. And when people see you asking and listening and acting on what you hear, the relationship now flips. They stop working for you and start working with you. Collaboration is going to be drastically different when you can receive the feedback and act on it. So how do you implement this whole principle of improving as a leader by getting feedback? Well, maybe you should ask some questions, okay? Here are 3 questions that I recommend you ask of your team members. And ask it this week if you have the chance. In your huddles or team meetings. Question number 1 is, what's one thing I do that helps you do your best work? Start with a positive. Question number 2, you might want to ask, what's one thing I do that gets in your way? There's your humility. And question number 3 is, what's one thing you wish I did more often? Okay, so principle number 4, I'll leave you with this last one. Real, authentic leadership exists to meet human needs. Okay? The best leaders don't just sit above their work. They support the people doing the work. So that means that they remove friction, they create clarity, they set clear expectations over and over, because sometimes things change. And now people are wondering, okay, what, are we still going in the same direction? Okay, so create clarity and set clear expectations. And authentic leaders also, they advocate for resources. We're in this crazy time where people's mental health is taking a nosedive. We got stress, anxiety, loneliness. Okay, so advocate for resources that are going to help boost their well-being. Okay, and then connect work to meaning. That's so important. Connect people's work to meaning. All right, and lastly, authentic leaders understand that people don't burn out from just merely the workload. Yeah, that might be the case, but a lot of burnout happens when people don't feel like they're seen, when people don't feel protected, when people don't feel safe and supported. Those things all lead to the decay of mental health, which then leads to burnout. And so real leadership, again, principle number 4, exists to meet real human needs. So how do you implement that? Every week, start this week, ask, what do you need from me to make progress? What do you need from me to make progress? And then follow through. That's the part most leaders skip. They may be listening to needs, but they're not following through on them. All right. So this is what these 4 principles, this is what humane leadership looks like. Yes, that's the title of my book. If you haven't read it yet, go find it. Humane leadership. Okay. Humane leadership is not a technique. It's a mindset. It's a commitment to lead in a way that elevates the people who trust you with their time, their energy, their talent. So if you want a culture of well-being, purpose, and growth this year, start with the way you lead. Reset your definition, okay? Strip away the performance, remove the masks, and step into something real. All right, if you want deeper strategies, practical tools, coaching resources, and frameworks that go far beyond what I share here on the show, I want to extend an invitation. Very simple. Subscribe to my Substack. That's it. You're going to get weekly insights at a fraction of the cost of expensive leadership programs. Not every company, especially smaller companies, can afford expensive courses and coaching programs. So the paid subscription to my Substack is just $8 a month, or if you prefer, $80 for the year, which gives you a discount. And, a lot of managers that subscribe to my Substack, a lot of leaders, a lot of executives, they treat it as a business or education expense. So in addition to all the free content, paid members are going to get a 21-page employee experience white paper, all evidence-based. You're also going to get long-form strategy guides, exclusive access to me through chat and email. Hey, coaching, right? So it's like if you need quick answers with coaching tips, that's another reason to subscribe. I am available and accessible through chat and email. You're going to get behind the scenes content from my book, not available anywhere else. And you're going to get tools I use every day with executives and global teams, straight from my toolbox. And if you choose the founding member option at $240, that's USD, $240 a year, you're going to receive a private 45-minute consultation with me covering the 6 building blocks of a high-performing organization. This is the framework I teach in my top-rated From Boss to Leader course, which is worth thousands of dollars if you want to go that route. But I'm going to share that secret sauce with you personally if you subscribe at the founding member rate of $240 for the whole year, and you'll get all the other benefits I just mentioned. So I want to thank you so much for listening, for supporting this work, and for your commitment to leading with radical love. I am honored to be part of your leadership journey, and I'll see you in the next episode. And until then, hey, lead well. And remember, in the end, love wins.
Thank you for listening to the Love in Action podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it, subscribe, and leave us a review. Until next time, don't forget, the future of leadership is love in action. Believe it, practice it, and watch your leadership and business flourish.